Hey guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the 6 most common mistakes that I see while I'm reviewing replays on my live stream. Now, these mistakes are from ranked. Most of them are from the gold range all the way up to low grand champ, but you will see some of these mistakes happening even in higher rated grand champ games and sometimes in pro play, but they will of course be, for the majority, 99.9% to do with ranked. But obviously that's where most of you guys are coming from. I don't think we've got too many aspiring pro players amongst us. If there are any, then best of luck to you. But we're going to go over these mistakes, mainly focusing on one per replay that we look at. So a couple of good examples of things being done well, a couple of examples of things being done poorly. We're going to start off with number 1 mistake, not in any particular order, but the first mistake we're going to look at today is to do with rotating to goal. And there's a common misconception that you should always rotate back post. This is not in fact true. Let's watch a good example of how to rotate to goal here. I'll just let it run through a few times for you guys to watch. Our third man realizes he's got to cover the goal in case there's a shot coming in. And notice there, he's inside the goal, has all angles covered, and he even has his teammate covered if he whiffs the backboard clear. So if we had gone to the back post in this position, that would have in fact made it a bit harder to save a top right corner shot as the other team are looking at the goal. So there's no time really to go back post. You have to just go into the goal sometimes to cover that near post shot like this. But yeah, as you can see, up until the bad clear straight down the middle, we were doing pretty well there. We had every angle covered, like I say. Just going to watch it one more time. We were ready for just about anything that was going to happen on that touch and on this potential touch. And that is a good example of where you want to rotate, or, you know, how you want to rotate when you go back to goal. Just make sure you actually go into the goal. And we'll see in this next example what can go wrong if you don't go into the goal. So here's another look at somebody rotating into third man position. We don't go to goal here, kind of just join our team in the corner, and then we join our team in the corner a second time instead of waiting in the goal, and we hesitate 3 or 4 times before the ball eventually goes in. So I'll just do the same thing for all these examples today. We'll rewind them a bunch of times so you guys can take a look at what's happening, see if what's happening looks like your play or if you would have made different decisions, and really understand why staying in goal would have been better. And there's a double reason to stay in goal. Number 1, because you want to cover the potential shot like that one. But number 2, because both of our teammates already have ball pressure. Both of our teammates are already in the corner, and you don't want to join them in that same position, because then one touch can take you all out of the game, like that one right there just did. But even more clear, and more of I think a good example of how awkward life can be if you don't stay in goal, and if you don't rotate into the goal properly. Notice this player did in fact rotate into the goal, but then immediately ruined it by driving out of the goal and making the position 10 times more awkward. Now, obviously there's a lot of other mistakes happening right now, but I want us to just focus on the one topic that we're looking at right here. And you can see now that this rotation really did cause us a lot of problems. Let's back it up and watch the whole thing again, because it's quite an extended play where I think the rotation is causing problems over and over again. We see that same issue as earlier where we join our teammates in the corner. But as the ball bounced across the box there, we weren't in the goal, we were too far forward, so a very awkward touch to make without own goaling. And now we've got both our teammates going to the corner again. We just end up joining them there instead of going into the net. And this touch ends up being extremely awkward for ourselves as well. So the summary of this one, the summary of this play and how to do it correctly, is just to remember to actually rotate into the goal and turn in the goal and face the play from inside the goal, because as a shot is coming across from the offensive corner, it's quite easy to save near post shots from this position if you're closer to the near post, obviously. And it's quite easy to save far post shots as well if you're facing forwards. Everything is within your reach. You can cover all angles. You can also cover infield passes. You're pretty safe from demos. You're going to be able to see what's happening thanks to the transparent goalposts. And all in all, you're not going to have a difficult time if you're in the goal. However, if you move off the goal line and sit here, Now if the ball comes across high, our camera's going to look straight up in the air instead of look forward at the play like it would if we were in the goal. It's going to look straight up in the air. We have no information. Very difficult to jump up and hit the ball accurately from here as well. And sometimes the ball will roll across in front of us and we'll only be able to own goal. That's the only contribution we can make to the play, so you just have to sit there and watch it roll across. Whereas if you're in the goal, of course you can challenge it, you can make a touch. So that's the first mistake that I see in almost every game that I review, is just an I would say, valuation, an underappreciation of that in the goal position. I want to really encourage you guys to give that a go in your own games. I think it's going to help you a lot. We're going to actually go to boosting back now. What I mean by boosting back, this is a much more easy mistake to see and a much more easy one to understand, but it might even sound silly. A lot of players in Rocket League just don't use their boost to go back to defense. They think, maybe subliminally, but maybe deliberately, they think that boost is for offense, boost is for attacking, boost is for going to the ball, when sometimes, in fact, boosting away from the play would be a good idea, and it would give us more space to work with, you know, building up momentum in the opposite direction. Here, that doesn't happen. We're just way too close to the play as a shot is coming in. Obviously, like I said before, there are other mistakes in all of these examples, but I want to really focus on one at a time. In this one, we're just going to look at the player in question, and could they be doing something more with what they have? Well, absolutely in this case. We've got almost a full tank of boost when this shot comes in, and we're nowhere near supersonic before we decide to jump up and hit this. There is a lot of acceleration to be done on the ground there before the need to jump. And that is something that I really want to drive home to you guys. You can accelerate in Rocket League much faster on the ground than you can in the air. So if you're not supersonic, no need to jump. You can just drive with boost until you are supersonic, and then you can jump and actually hit the ball. Let's look at another example of this. The orange team got a goal from the blue team not boosting back. Now let's see the same thing happening again. So a slow turn, and then finally at the very last second our player realizes that he is backed out of position and starts boosting back. But really, if you're going to commit into the corner for this boost, you need to be supersonic on the turn, supersonic on the way back to goal. It needs to be much more urgent than what we see here. A whole lot more urgent. Really, obviously, like I said before, there's a lot of other mistakes. I don't think even going into the corner for this boost is a good idea. But in lower rank games especially, you're going to see a lot of goals like this. You never see them in higher rated games, or at least nowhere near as much, because players know how important it is to have full momentum on the retreat before you jump up to make a save like this. But this is probably something that a lot of lower rated players will struggle with, is knowing how to save these overhead shots. They think, oh man, this is so difficult. The ball is directly over my head, it's moving really quickly. How am I supposed to both get up in the air for that and also be moving quick enough to catch up with it? Well, the key is actually to just boost on the ground, get supersonic on the ground as early as possible before you commit to the jump. Let's see here, the ball actually crosses the line extremely close to the ground. You don't need, in fact, you really don't need to jump to save this at all. You could catch that with a simple block on the goal line, but everybody's thinking that they must intercept the ball right above them, because that's what you'll see on pro games. You'll see players flying up and hitting this. But I really want to, encourage you guys to just get boosting back. Boost is not just for attacking the ball in offense. It's not just for attacking aerials. It's not just for shots. You need to use your boost to retreat. You need to use your boost to get back into position and just be more willing to use the resource, not just in attack but also in defense, to build up speed in that direction. Now, I want to go to recoveries next, but the first thing that I will highlight, in fact, is one more look at boosting back and an example of it being done well. This isn't in defense per se, but notice how our player in this play is coming in to position, realizes that they can make a play on this ball if they boost back first. See that initially? Before turning to hit the ball, we have some boost being used to build up speed in the other direction. And this is the same principle. You have to be willing to use boost to go back sometimes in order to turn that around and go forward. Now the hit, in fact, wasn't the best, and you know, could have been a lot better. But luckily the defender has missed the ball and we have ended up scoring. But the point I want to really highlight to you guys is just be willing to do this. Try doing this in your own games. Boost away from the ball, and you're going to be much happier for it. You're going to definitely be conceding a lot less goals because you have tons of boost and you were afraid to use it. So now we're going to go into the next topic, which is recoveries, and we're going to stay on this replay here. And we're going to take a look at a few landings. So this is a higher rated replay, and you'll notice that players are moving around a bit faster. What I want to highlight in this corner is that we've landed on our wheels as we challenge the ball. So I'm just going to watch it back a few times so you guys can see. Single jump challenge, land on the wheels in the corner. We took a bit of an impact from the other player's car, but we're still ready to drive out the play and keep on doing things. In this case, looking for a bump on a goalkeeper, looking for a boost steal. But this is the key in the corner that I really want to highlight, and it's something that I see done wrong all the time. And the players will dodge into the corner, they land on their back, the car bounces off the wall, they don't have any momentum, they have no landing to work with. This is in fact how you want to do it, what we've seen here, landing on our wheels and making sure that we are quickly back into the play. So let's look at a couple of other examples from this game of recoveries not being done as well. This is going to be the first of them. I don't remember actually which... oh no, this is another good landing, sorry. This is another good one. Yeah, so this is something you'll see a lot in pro play, is after aerials come in, or after shots become available in the air, players will get up, score it, and then immediately land on the back wall, and then on the ceiling as well if they do score it. And this is a good drill that you can do in your own games to practice your recoveries on walls. Number one, if you are going to go for an aerial play, try to land on your wheels on the back wall so that you're ready to get back into the play as quickly as possible. And secondly, try to land on the ceiling as well if the goal explosion sends you up there. So it's a good little drill. You'll often see high-level players, pro players do this when goals go in. They just get a bunch of recoveries one after another. You have one on the back wall, one on the ceiling, then they'll, in this case, half flip onto the wall. It's just a good thing that you can practice, and it doesn't take any time out of your day, because you would have been watching this goal go in anyway. You might as well. But that first recovery there is actually the most important, the one where we landed on the back wall after aerialing. That's huge. This is going to be a big difference. You see a lot of examples in lower rated games of players aerialing up for a shot, and then they'll just land straight on the ball, or straight on the wall, bounce off it, and have no momentum to work with. They've not landed properly. Let's take one more look at an example in this game of a less effective landing. Got pretty lucky with it in the end. But earlier on in the game we saw a great landing on a wall after a challenge. This is a challenge that's not really putting the same thought into it. This is clearly just a challenge where the player has thought 100% about getting a block on the ball and not really thought further ahead to their recovery if that doesn't work. And we bounced off the wall, landed the wrong way. Now we're in reverse, have to half flip into position. But this could have gone even worse if we weren't lucky with this landing. This could have gone horrendously. We were quite fortunate that we did land on the wheels there. Yeah, just be very mindful of this. There's lots of players submitting replays to me where they often in a game will dodge into a wall, land on a wall with a surface that isn't their wheels, or they'll be landing sideways so they don't have momentum in the downward direction to get back into the play as fast as possible. This is a huge thing that I see being done ineffectively in a lot of replays that I review, and that's recoveries. Think about your landing whenever you're making a challenge or an aerial play. Think, how am I going to recover after I do this? So let's move on to the next one. That's going to be corner control. This is a bit of a diverse topic, but we do have some examples to look at here. Now, corner control essentially is the defense, how capable and how willing they are to keep the ball in their corner and to control the ball in their corner. So let's take a look at blue team here and how well they control the ball in their corner. Well, there's the touch. Is that in the corner? Is that difficult for the offense to work with? No, it's in fact very easy. A better play here would have been to roll the ball up the wall instead of smashing the ball off the wall, because then it wouldn't have bounced back into the middle. It would have rolled up quite harmlessly, and it would have taken longer for the other team to get a shot off, basically. Even though they could have still maybe attacked the ball, it would have taken much longer, and it would have been from further away. So this is example number 1 of controlling the ball poorly in the corner. But we'll see this in lots of games. You'll see this in almost every game. In fact, I would go as far to say you probably do see this in every single game throughout the ranks, maybe silver, or at least bronze, maybe all the way up to low Grand Champ. Players hitting the ball into the corner and conceding possession, conceding shots as a result. Keeping the ball in the corner under control with a player goal side ready to 50-50 is far more effective. And you can also, if you have to hit the ball into the corner, make sure it rolls. Don't bounce it like this. So let's look at another example from the same game. Blue team down by 1 goal. This is an attempted controlling touch in the corner, but notice this time it's a bit too heavy of a touch, and it forces a very bad 50-50, and the ball's back in the middle. So similar sort of position in the setup, but a different approach. This time, instead of hitting the ball hard into the wall and bouncing it off, our players tried to control the ball, keep it rolling, like I said. But by doing so, they've actually given it to the opponent. And if you watch closely, it would have actually been better to let the ball roll ahead and then hit it forwards into the corner, because this is just too easy for the opponent to deal with. And the ball is going to bounce out into the middle here, because the second thing goes wrong, and that is our player has not got goal side on the 50-50. So I want to pause here right as the 50-50 is about to go down. And whenever you are making a 50-50 in your defensive corner, you want your card to be between your goal and the ball most of the time, because the worst thing that can happen is the ball going straight into your goal or straight across your goal. Here, our players tried to be a bit cheeky. He's tried to hit the ball as quickly as possible, just get it past the attacking player. But this is just incredibly greedy. We need to just stay goal side on this one if possible. That's the only way that we can play this situation out safely. If bad touches like this one happen where we concede possession, the play here wouldn't be to get underneath the ball and flip into it. It would be to get in front of the ball. So keep driving up ahead of it and then flip, so you get a much stronger 50-50 that's not likely to bounce out into a dangerous position like this. But that is essentially one element of corner control, just staying goal side, keeping the ball in the corner. Those are the main things. But number 3, not giving away possession. And let's look at another topic here before we change replay, and that is challenges. And the first thing that I want to talk about related to challenges is players not challenging when they should. So our player here is completely alone. His teammate is out the game. And there really isn't a lot of room to play with here. Fake challenge does nothing, and now we've pre-jumped to challenge, and the opponent has just mind-gamed it into the corner. We'll take a look at the opponent's perspective on this one as well. So he sees one player out of the game, and he's going for the dribble. A largely uninspiring dribble, to be honest. First touch is not the best. Really, no options here except the mind game or a really accurate flick to the top corner. But luckily for our dribbling player here, the defender decides not to challenge and then also goes for a pre-jump. But the key here is, with this much space, or with this lack of space behind you to work with almost no time to react to what the other player does, it's very often better to just man up and challenge the ball. You're completely alone. Your teammate's not coming back anytime soon. You just have to go. You have to just go and hope that the other player doesn't hit the ball past you. Sometimes it's just better to force him to outplay you than it is to outplay yourself by doing nothing. So that's one way that we've done challenges incorrectly. Let's look at a couple more from a different replay. First of all, I want to go to an example of good fake challenges being used. So you've got situations where you should challenge the ball. You should just go for it. Those are usually when you have very limited space to work with, very little time to react, and you're extremely alone, you have no teammates coming to help you, those are times you should just challenge. If you have no time, obviously if you're way up the field, faking a challenge is a great idea because you're giving your teammate time to recover and to help you out. But if you don't have that time, if you don't have that space to weave in those fake challenges, it's probably not a good idea. Now this, on the other hand, is a position where fake challenges are very effective. So we're on the orange team here, even though we are in a blue car. This is an orange team car. And he sees his teammate flipping out to the right hand side of your screen there. So instead of diving in, he just fakes a challenge this way. Then he knows his teammate's probably gone for the back corner boost, so he's going to come across here, just fake another challenge, make sure that the opponent goes up the wall, and now that he's forced the opponent to make a play, he'll back off and let his teammate come in. This is a good idea, and it's a good principle to follow. What do we have here? Why is this challenge, or why is this position a better one to fake a challenge in compared to the one in the previous game where I said you should just challenge? Well, let's see the differences. Number one, we have a lot of space behind us. That means that even if this fake challenge doesn't do anything, even if he doesn't make a play on the ball, which, by the way, this fake challenge is not all that convincing, which is why we have to then go and make another one. Like this, which is a more convincing challenge, and it forces the other player to make a touch off the wall that he maybe didn't want to make. But yeah, we have so much space to work with here that keeping ourselves active in the game is a really good idea. Staying in the game. Diving in for a challenge in this spot would be a terrible idea, because number one, we do actually have backup from our teammate, and right now we're just trying to buy him time to get back in the game, to get boost. Number two, we've got a lot of time in our hands. It's going to take a while for that ball to reach our goal, so even if the opponents do shoot, there's some time to react to it, unlike earlier, where there's just no time at all. And in fact, yeah, this one does actually lead to a goal for us because the other team gave our teammate the ball. So I would definitely encourage you guys to, fake challenge if you're the first man forward in 2v2 and your teammate is behind you, getting ready to support, and you're just trying to buy him time. There we had time in our hands, we had space, we had all the tools that we needed to make fake challenges a good idea. So now let's look at another one. So let's take a look at the same game. And a bad commitment to a challenge. We've seen one example of a fake challenge where we should have done a real challenge. Then we saw a fake challenge where it was a good idea. Now we're seeing a real challenge where it's a bad idea. It would have been better to do a fake challenge. So let's first of all pause and take a look at the situation. No, we don't have a teammate behind us here, but we do have a teammate recovering. So we will have backup soon. The opponent is about to make a play on the ball, which is most likely not going to be a shot on target or an extremely threatening pass. So we're not too worried about this touch, but we decide anyway to go for the challenge, and now we've taken ourselves out of the game for quite a while. If we look at the actual touch again, we'll see that this could have resulted in a goal for the other team quite easily. So we're the last man back here. We need to just buy our teammate time to recover, to get boost, to get back into position. In fact, we should just let our teammate pressure this ball if possible, and we could turn around and wait. Instead, we dive in, and if that ball bounces a bit harder off this wall, instead of rolling up the wall here, luckily for the orange team, the ball right here, it does decide to roll up the wall. But if that didn't happen, if this ball bounced off the wall back into the middle, the orange team would be in a lot of trouble. They would be about to receive a difficult to save shot. Instead, the ball's been kind to them. It's rolled into an awkward position, and they're able to recover and get back in position to deal with it. But remember, don't dive in if you do have support, if you have time, if you have space, if you have these things on your side. There's no reason to throw all that away. Like right here, we're throwing away all the space that we have to work with. We're throwing away all the time. We're throwing away our backup that our teammate is going to become in a few seconds, all for an extremely risky challenge that's got low reward. And now we're lucky that the ball's rolled kindly for us into a position that the other team can't utilize. That's pretty much all I want to say on challenges here. Fake if you have time, if you have space, if there's a teammate in the game or about to be in the game. But if you don't have those things, if you don't have space, if you don't have time, then it might just be better to actually put in a challenge. There is one other example this game of this happening. Let's just very quickly look at it. Now here we don't have the space to be faking challenges, to be reacting to the play. We should just go for that ball, obviously. There's no time, there's no backup coming soon, there's no space to work with. this is one where you just have to go. And we're just going to watch it one more time, then we'll be done with the challenges topic. But hopefully that's made sense. Now, I want to go rewind in this replay before we move on to the next one, because we're going to change topic without changing replay here. And in this play, what we're going to highlight is ball pressure, the last topic of today. It's something that I don't see enough in replays that I analyze. So here, the ball has, kind of stayed in the defensive corner for the blue team. And you'll notice the first thing that our orange team player does here, after failing a bump on a goalkeeper, is rotate back down the line. Now that was a mistake. The better thing to do would be to straight away start going towards the ball again. You might be thinking, well, that's just ball chasing. Surely this is a good idea to rotate out away from the play. And you might think it is. It looks like we're doing a good thing here by rotating back to our goal. But the thing with random 2v2 is you don't know what your teammate's going to do. You don't know if he's going to chase the ball or if he's going to rotate back. So if you could do both at the same time, you should probably do it. And instead of going for this side boost, we should instead pressure the ball. We should start flipping diagonally across these boost pads, the small ones, in the middle of the pitch to get near the ball, because that is going to force the other team to do something with it before they want to. But the same thing could be said for the other orange player here. Like I said, this is random 2v2. We don't know what our teammate's going to do. So in this position, instead of just leaving and giving the other team a lot of space, you could say that this player should pressure the ball as well. Really, I think both players should pressure the ball in this play. Our Octane player should just stay near this ball, not flip away. Stay on it. And our Dominus player, when they're rotating back, initially, what should have happened here, if both players play correctly, is that our orange team player, well, ideally they would hit this boost and they'd have 100. But ideally, you'd want to flip diagonally across the field in this direction. And then when you get to about here, you'd realize, okay, actually my teammate is pressuring the ball, so I'm just going to go back to goal from here and support his challenge. If he gets dribbled, we're ready to come in behind him. If he doesn't, then great, he's landed his challenge. We're all good. But neither of those things happen. Both of our players just are instinctively rotating back instead of pressuring the ball. And they get dribbled because the attacker had so much time, he had so much space to set up his dribble. Let's watch it from his perspective and see that really he wasn't under pressure from that guy. He wasn't under pressure from the Dominus either. Sets up his flick, easy peasy. Love the infield dribble on this one as well. Very nicely done. He gives himself a great angle to work with. Nobody's saving that shot. So well played by our attacking player. But ball pressure really not good enough from the orange team on that play. Let's watch a couple of other examples of ball pressure just to finish off the video. A couple of examples where we could pressure the ball a lot more and probably see a lot more success as a result. So let's take a look at the blue team in this play, who are winning 2-1. Now this is a very common thing that you're going to see in 3v3. We were looking at 2v2 before, where ball pressure is obviously very obvious and very important on recoveries because you are only two people. But in 3v3 it's more often correct to rotate away from the play and let your teammates make a play. However, if two players are out of the game, like we're going to see here. Hold on, I think I've gone too far here. I think, yeah, I did. Oh yeah, here it is. So we've got one player out of the game landing on the back wall. Now we've got another player committing as well. That means that our third man is completely alone. And somebody needs to help him by at least putting some pressure on this ball so that the other team can't get a free hit on it or a free dribble. But you'll notice here briefly as our Octane on screen comes away from this play, he's less inclined to make a play on it or make a block on it than he is to let his teammate come in. Notice he's turning his camera off here, off the ball, to make sure he's not driving into his teammate, who he thinks is going to make a play on this. But luckily his teammate didn't make a play on this, because it would have been a terrible idea. It would have just been a goal for the orange team if the last man back for blue team had made a play on that ball. He understood his role correctly as third man. Just stay back, let someone else pressure the ball. Because essentially right now we are in a 2v2. Our third man on the left of your screen there, top left, he's not really in the game. He's on the back wall doing nothing. So we need to play this out as a 2v2 or even a 2v3. And what would you do in 2v2 in this position? Would you rotate out and let your defender come in? Absolutely not. You'd want to pressure this ball, make sure that the other team aren't going to get an easy dribble or an uncontested long shot or a passing play out of defense started. You don't drive away from it and let them have that for free, making your teammate's life difficult. Luckily, your teammate was in an okay position and he was able to get that clear. But that's just one thing to be very careful of. Don't autopilot away from the play. Let's see a more obvious one here. Blue team again, coming forward in attack. Pretty random position. Now we've got one player recovering, another player completely out of the game. We just saw one of the blue team flying forward for a shot, didn't get it, and that leaves a third man completely alone. And instead of pressuring the ball on the rotation out, we've just rotated away and done nothing, and that's isolated our third man. Let's watch it again. Here's the recovery. This recovery should be in the direction of the ball. For the same reason I said before, we are only able to defend with two people here. Our player whose perspective we're watching, he is still in the play. He's still able to pressure the ball. He's still able to get underneath it. And if you notice where the ball actually went towards here, yep, he could have been on that. He could have been flipping towards this and putting pressure on the attacking players just to guarantee that they can't control the ball. But instead, we've just rotated away, and that's forced our third man to come in for a challenge because he didn't want to leave an uncontested shot. And that meant that nobody was able to cover the goal. Luckily, the other team missed it. But the key here is just pressure the ball and your rotations out, or don't automatically flip away from the play. Because if you had two players back here, then flipping away from the play would be fine. One of your players who's at the back would pressure the ball, the other would cover the goal. But right now we don't have two players back, we only have one. And it's really hard to do both of those jobs at the same time, pressure the ball and cover the goal. So if you only have one man back, let him cover the goal and you pressure the ball on your rotation out instead of just driving away and not having any impact on the play, as we see here. So in summary, these have been the main things that I've noticed in replay reviews that I've done. Starting with rotating back to goal. Remember to go into the goal when you rotate back and be patient, staying there, waiting for the play to develop before committing when you know you have a good hit on the ball. Remember with boosting back was the second one that we talked about. Be willing to use your boost to go back into defensive positions to get there as quickly as possible. That's something I don't see enough of. Recoveries. We saw some good landings in this replay, but these are less common than they should be. There's a lot of very, very slow landings in games that I've seen on my stream. Almost every game, there's players flipping into walls and taking ages to recover as a result. Always be mindful of your recovery, how your car is going to land when you commit for a challenge or an aerial or any jump of any kind. Corner control. We need to keep the ball under control in defense when our team is under pressure. Don't panic, clear the ball, and don't pass it away. Don't hit it off the wall in the corner so the other team can have it for free. Get goal side, get good 50-50s, draw the other team into you. Don't just give the ball to them for them to utilize. Then we looked at challenges. It's good to fake challenges if there's lots of space, lots of time to figure out what's going to happen, lots of time to react to what happens. And also if our teammate is recovering, good to fake a challenge and let him recover for even longer so he's more in the play when the real play does develop. But likewise, if you don't have time to react to what's about to happen, if you don't have space to fake a challenge and then get in position for a follow-up challenge if it doesn't work, then maybe it's just better to actually go for the ball. And understanding the difference in those two situations is very rare. Most of the time players will do one or the other all the time instead of switching as situationally appropriate. And lastly, ball pressure. This goes hand in hand with challenges. In 2v2, it is almost always a good idea to pressure the ball as you rotate back to defense. In 3v3, it is often right to pressure the ball as you rotate back to defense. And it's all about just knowing, okay, how many players are in defense for our team. If it's one, then you probably want to pressure the ball in your rotation back. If it's two, you probably just want to rotate away from the play. And if it's none, then you probably want to get ready to cover the goal as fast as possible. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these topics. For me, when I look at replays and when I review them, these are things I expect to see going wrong because they are just such common mistakes in the current Rocket League metagame. But they're really easy things to improve on. There's not a huge amount of mechanical difficulty to any one of them. And I think that, you know, if you can get all of these things down and really start to think about them and apply them to your own game, you're going to become a significantly better player. And I would say that these things, these mistakes apply to and are likely to be happening in games all the way up to low Grand Champ. And even beyond, you're still going to be able to nitpick and spot tendencies in higher rated Grand Champ games that are going to be similar to these. Less obvious sometimes and less dangerous maybe, but still likely to be seen. So, like I said, hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Let me know if there's any other mistakes that you think I forgot or omitted from this, any other common ones that you see all the time. And yeah, let me know if you like this. I could maybe do more videos like this in the future if more mistakes and more easy fixes come up that I think I can bring to your guys' attention. Anyway, thanks for watching and take care, stay inside, and I'll see you in the next one.